Hello viewers, Kubiando Kith and Kin, I'm SB and welcome back to Roadwarden, where today we are meeting our equal, Thyrsis, the Turf Warden. I guess the turf is all the parts of the ground that aren't the road? Maybe? Is warding turf difficult? Regardless of whether or not this is the right attitude to approach with, I'm gonna say this because I think it's very fun how stupid that is. Yeah, I'm gonna do this. The asking about dreamt here, maybe I dreamt you in my sleep, is definitely a more salient line of inquiry, but I really want to say, is warding turf difficult? Yep. He looks at you in silence, then yawns loudly. His teeth are yellow, but don't seem to be neglected, at least from this far. It's hard, for 'tis boring like a toad song. He sighs. You're off the main road, stranger. What for? I found a scrap of land that I think may be cursed, though I'm not sure how to examine it. I would love for you to ward some turf for me. And you're saying the rest of the north isn't cursed? He lets out a chuckle, but seeing how you still wait for his advice, he raises one of his creepers and, looking in the distance, scratches it. Well, I've no cure for that, but ask Eudocia, the witch from the other side of the woods, far east. Maybe she has a wand or something. Do you live here all by yourself? Should you? Should somebody be watching over you? Yep. Warlocking, peddling, guarding turf. My tribe dug out what they can this summer. I just keep dragons away from squashing the bricks. Your eyes turn west, following the man's raised finger, and you indeed notice a distant trail of massive three-fingered footprints, now turned into small puddles. They're as long as your torso, with pointy claws, one of which appears to be broken at its tip. I raise my chin. Did you choose to move to this field, or were you forced to do so? He reaches toward his chest, rubbing a small tusk nervously. One of us surely likes to ask questions, while the others got work to do. His voice is colder than soil. Yeah, well, you are gonna fucking sit here and listen to all of my questions. So how do you avoid wild beasts? 'Tis them who avoid this place. They're afraid of spears, my plants, and poisons. Seeing your frown, he raises his creepers quickly, waving them like a dancer would scarves, yet his arms remain still. They're stronger than muscles, he simply explains. But still, I'm not much of a wanderer. Okay. There's a man living in... Is this relevant? Is this his business? Is this the way to White Marshes? Both the opposite and quite so. You took the left turn, away from the village, but you wouldn't reach it anyway. The path's sealed, and I keep it that way. Oh, we were told about this, weren't we? That there was a guy who had to open the path for us. You ask him to explain, and he raises his hands, waggling his fingers as if he's casting a curse. My green pets keep the troublemakers away. But I could make an exception for a warden, one willing to prove they bring gifts, not troubles. All right, what's the toll? He reaches for his basket and places it on the lower edge of the scarp, crouching right behind it. You look inside. Indeed, it's filled with wild leaves, flowers, and berries. Give me enough for a day or so, and I'll bend the vines for a day. Or so. I have wild plants to spare, but it won't be enough. Damn it. Okay, can you just take a dragon bone? And what I do with it? Chew it like an auroch? While you're not sure what he means by that, he finally lets out a sigh, and you throw the tiny disc into his humble supplies. He snaps his fingers. Done. Do you have anything to sell, Warlock? He eagerly smiles and steps away, reaching to the doorknob with his right creeper. Odds and ends. Want to buy a hook? Venturers love those, and I've got it for cheap. He doesn't give you time to respond. On most days, I brew and mix stuff for poisons and medicine, if one's desperate enough to cross the bogs for it. I've one that withers plants, and one that kills worms and bugs, and one that keeps flies away for better health. Okay, so this is a way that you could get access to potions if you are not playing the alchemist. Or the scholar, rather. You pause. You're quite sure you're more than capable of making all those balms and powders on your own, if you had an alchemy table at hand. You mention it, and he huffs loudly, already standing in the threshold. Well, you're not touching my tools, Warden. But I may have some wound wort or marsh beetles for you, and there are mushrooms in the bogs. All right, let me take a look. Wow, very expensive. A bone hook. This, I don't have a specific use for it, but it seems like a useful thing. All right, I guess I'm gonna bring this up to the dude. There's a man living in Gale Rocks who tries to heal his spellless daughter. The warlock cuts in right after you mention Eudocia's rock. Whatever it is, there's no way anyone other than a real prophet would help that girl. Numa's weak in my tribe, you know. Myself, I'm gifted, yet, but had no teachers here. He shrugs his arms, making the creepers bend upward. Took the pagan priest from Howler's Dell to help me twist more than a twig. If there was a way to put Numa in shells for good, people would kill to find it. You were training with the druids. The forest speakers. His mocking voice makes him sound like a brat. I left when I was a teen 10 years ago, if not more, after everything went to shit. He suddenly pauses, then waves it off. After a few more questions, he speaks slowly, observing your eyes. Don't get me wrong, I did learn a lot, especially from that one old man. But his daughter kept making me meditate, and I'm not one to sit still. His amulets rattle from his flinch. We paid them for teaching me, but they broke their word, kept telling me of spirits, lumber, and of Wright's poison. After his annoyed scoff, he bites his tongue and taps his toes nervously. You ask about the old man, but Thyrsus runs out of patience. I don't know, the one with the real gift. He guided all the ceremonies, yet was arguing with others all the time. I don't care. He was good for nothing, like all of them. Okay. I'm not going to ask this. This is insulting. I guess let's go? We should be able to get through now. The leafless plants resemble tree roots rather than creepers, even though they're dark green and sway up and down slightly in the rhythm of a heartbeat. Agro snorts and speeds up, unwilling to linger underneath the nightmarish gate. As you get to the other side, the plants seem to completely ignore you, which is basically what plants are supposed to do. That's pretty normal. That said, there are some mushrooms growing behind those creepers. A bog friend! Once you cover your hands with protective gloves, you get it done with a swift cut. The bog friend is brown with a few red vertical lines and a cap covered with holes that resemble fish gills. As you're shaking off the soil, you expect the mushroom to be slimy, but the opposite is true. Once cleaned, it resembles a morel, but you know well how poisonous it can get. You wrap it with a cloth and hide it among your bundles. Cool. You're finally going to make it to White Marsh? The road twists between the flooded purplish grasses. The field ahead of you is still green, bearing the second sowing of broad beans, maybe the third one if the land allows it. The workers ignore you, workers. Some of them are nothing but bones. Some carry scraps of flesh, wearing them like forgotten rags, and others look almost human, as if they were awoken right after death. Most of the witless shells move around piles of soil, carry wooden logs, or dig in the ground with their bare hands. But there are also those with considerable abilities. They use pitchforks, hoes, and splitting axes, and confidently cross the uneven ground. There's only a few breathing souls in sight. They observe your passing, but keep their distance. They're not attacking me. This is a village of people. I'm not concerned that they're just gonna have at me. Also, if they do decide to have at me, I'm just fucking dead anyway. I am in no condition to defend myself, so let's make a show of not being afraid. I got nothing to fear, they got nothing to fear, right? The guards let you in without questioning. The entrance, and the wall in general, were recently constructed, though are still not finished. There will soon be yet another gate, allowing for trade and conversations without opening the village to danger. Just like in the fields, the work is divided between the undead, who carry bricks and take care of the most thankless tasks, while the locals cut rocks and spread mortar. The difficult past is still carved in the villagers' gaunt faces and crude outfits, and their brief glances show little curiosity. A few of them are sharing a meal right next to the well, and the victuals in their baskets consist of green leaves, fruits, eggs, and cuts of roasted meat, the food of foragers. You're told to wait here for the mayor. Don't roam on your own. The guard's voice is harsh, despite the stutter. I tether Agro at a small shed. The man shows up soon after with a careless saunter, and he hardly spares you a look, instead staring at your palfrey. The stranger from the forest garden. I kinda guess why you would come here. Who are you even? Okay, hold on a second. We know a thing or two about this fella. He is Aurentius. Ooh, Aurentius is a priest. Is he the mayor? He's a priest. So no, he's the real leader of White Marshes. It's not a thing you would need to say if he was also the mayor. This guy is probably not Aurentius. Alright. His stature would be considered average in most villages, but in comparison to the rest of his tribe, he's portly, muscular, tall, and with a large square face. His hands are resting on the shaft of the poleaxe placed across his shoulders, making him seem even larger. His long, straw-colored beard is shabby and makes his bald head look shiny. You can't really tell how old he is, though you see no wrinkles. Just like the others, he's wearing prominent charms, favoring tiny figurines of animals made of bone and wood. Only one of them is hanging from his neck, a silver amulet portraying the head of a moose with large antlers. While valuable, it looks older than the other critters, and quite crude in form. I introduce myself. He sizes you up. And I'm Helvius. Who let you in? Was it Thyrsis? He's as much a gatekeeper as a fly's a warden to a piece of shit. He gives you a telling frown. Do I want to seem friendly to this person? Do I think that's going to get me in? I don't think this is a good time to joke about that. I'm going to stay distanced here. Yeah, like, it's funny how I never even consider these other two buttons. These are here. I just, it never even crosses my mind to look at them. It'd be interesting to play a character who tended to be in those directions, but that I don't think is the character we're playing now. I'm sure he realized I may be of use here. Don't boast. Those like you help others when your pouch gets empty, and we've no need of you here. He starts to twist his wrists, spinning his weapon slowly. Take a good look around while you can. White Marshes isn't for strangers. The turf houses are old, covered with lush grasses and flowers, and you can't imagine any large family fitting inside such small one-chambered huts. The alleys are so narrow that only one cart could squeeze through them at once. Your boots have sunk into the mud. The square is covered with deep boot prints. The noise of hammers, shouting, wood splitting, and the shuffling of undead legs pierces through the constant buzzing of insects. Agro snorts, hunting down flies with its tail. I notice there's only one elder in sight, and he's observing me. He's standing on top of a wooden platform by the building that's unlike any other in the village. His eyes are keen. The left one is dark, the right one is gray, bright. His head and face are shaved, and his simple undyed robe is in even worse shape than the outfits of his tribesfolk. Once Helvius realizes what you're looking at, he lowers his weapon and clears his throat, like a boy caught red-handed. The elder walks away, holding a walking stick with one hand and touching the wall with the other. Aurentius, says the mayor, the priest of our fellowship and the one who saved our people. He raises his hand, pointing at the dead shells bustling around the construction site. Yeah, I seek a few missing hunters from creeks. Are they here, maybe? His voice remains the same, but he squeezes the long haft of his axe. Dahlia, right? Was here, but many days ago, with questions on howlers and cats. Some dumb bet, she told me. Was headed back north. Okay. That's the only clue we've had at all about Dahlia or the other one, whose name I'm forgetting now. Right, I don't think we've heard anything about them besides that. That said, we haven't been everywhere since we knew to look for them. I did ask Foggy, right? Oh, yeah, I must have, because we went back there the night after we found Creeks. We didn't ask in Gale Rocks, though. We should go back to Gale Rocks at some point soon. Were you recently bothered by any highwaymen? He reaches for his hair so quickly that it makes you flinch, but then scratches his head gently. And if so, we deal with them on our own, without some warden's help. That's interesting. According to what an old druid told me, the highwaymen bother you much more severely than you lead me to believe. So you're bothering other people with these questions as well. He scowls at you, but carries on. Glaucia is angry with us. Took our food and tools, beat our foragers, broke our traps. But we don't need a stranger's guidance. Okay, that's interesting. Hey, is Asterion around? I know he's not, but... Huh? Why would he be? You pay attention to his confident stance and strong voice, with its usual hint of disdain, and spot no sign of a lie. He's hardly ever been here. I've no need of wardens. You say you know nothing about Asterion, but people claim he had strong ties with your tribe. Helvius begins swinging his axe left and right, the heel of the haft now resting in the mud. Trying to recall the past, he makes a puzzled frown. Know what? I was told he met with our warlock often, who knows why. Ask him if you must. I did not actually have the option of doing that before, did I? Well, let's not stay here long. We can hit Thyrsis on the way back out. I would like to learn more about White Marshes. Don't bother, both us and yourself. The tribe's been taming the bogs for 5 generations, but the fields are from a few seasons ago, thanks to Arentius. He moves toward the gate as if you had no opportunity to see them before. We used to live on berries and meat, selling peat and timber, but soon we'll need no outsiders. After all these years of feeding our blood to saurians, leeches, and merchants, better days are coming. We made them come, and we deserve them. He fondly wipes his blade with his thumb, then clears his throat. If the right allows. You used to sell wood, correct? He nods in approval. In the old days, our firewood warmed up all walls and toes this side of Hag Hills, but Gale Rocks in the far north built its own hamlet for woodcutters, and Howler's Dell grew a fine garden for themselves just to get by without us. They have oaks, cherries, and their own darker birches. Have no more reason to trade with us other than peat. You glance at the buildings. While they are indeed new, most settlements in the province would view them as crude and cramped. So you want to separate yourself from the other settlements. It sounds like mostly out of spite. The tribes with little iron and bones struggle more and more. We're getting ready to welcome plunderers the way they deserved, Saul. Our palisade wasn't enough. All this, he waves at the wall, and his voice is full of pride, was built in not even 2 years. Can you believe? You glance at a yellowish skeleton that carries 2 large rocks, each too large for any human to lift on their own. So, these undead, they don't bother you? Nah, I used to listen to stories about them as a kid. He nods for you to follow him. But Aurentius taught me they're no different than boars in fire. He dashes forward and swings his poleaxe, bashing a skeleton's shoulder. The arm sinks into the mud, while its owner, a bit awkwardly now, keeps trying to climb up a ladder. Helvius bursts into laughter, and the locals look away without a word. See, he continues, leading you back to the wall. All you need's control. Look there. He points at a dead shell with remains of flesh on its chest and head. There's a white and brown sparrow sitting on its shoulder, preening its feathers. Even beasts know they've not got a thing to worry about. The Awoken are now like they were yesterday, like they were in spring, like they were a year ago. Leave worrying about them to idiots and unites. I hear what you say about the Awoken, but your tribe used to be strong without them. So what, Warden? What was 10 years ago? What was 10 years ago isn't, and what isn't doesn't matter. We needed to trade, yet the others pushed us away. We won't let them choose for us ever again. Did you know the people of Old Pagos are fighting a plague? Fuck. He looks at the dark clouds and sighs. Who? Kids? Elders? While you speak, the nearby villagers stop their work, and even the undead are told to freeze in place, offering your ears a bit of relief. You answer a lot of questions, making the muddy square even more grim. You hear someone weeping, and a young woman announcing, "It's not fair, even for them." The mayor nods in agreement, keeping the axe on his shoulders. I'll tell Laurentius. From now on, we'll gather our wood chips and twigs in a shed. He raises his voice, looking into his tribe's eyes. We may have enough for them before winter. Okay, well that's very decent of the lot of them. I'm pleased to see that, the spite hasn't really, completely poisoned any hearts here. I'd like to speak with Laurentius. As he straightens up, the moose on his chest bounces enthusiastically. You and many others, but he's swamped by his work, and we've enough threats in the shadows already. If he decides you're trustworthy, he may speak with you once. But why would I even ask him? I want to hear the Right's will. You're at the right place, but the wrong time. One day all provinces of the land will learn what was revealed to the prophet. He spreads his arms, holding the poleaxe like a staff. Ride away, to the villages, to the city. You will all hear Right's words soon enough. Okay, do you have anything to trade? We need what we have, but I'll take a look at what you're bringing if you seek bones. He glances at an undead. I nod toward my bundles. Go ahead. He points his blade at the only thing that interests him. Well, I don't have... I'll pay you for 3 with 1 bone. Okay. I don't have a crossbow, so I'd be willing to do that if I had 3. Let me observe the undead for a moment here. Not being allowed to leave the main square, you observe the shells walking through the gate or helping the builders at the wall. The skeletons are not at all complete. Some of them lack a rib, a foot, or a jaw. Many of their bones are cracked or broken, and seem to be connected to each other with nothing at all, as if the pneuma that keeps them moving knows which parts should stay firm and which ones should twist or bend. Those that kept some of their skin and guts don't smell, rot, or bleed, and make you think of dried meat. It's as if these scraps of flesh serve no purpose, and seeing how many of these laborers already have great holes in their stomachs, or limbs with revealed bones, it could be that they are just in the middle of the process of becoming like their naked counterparts. The undead loyally fulfill their tasks. So far, you've counted 5 people able to give them orders. Some do so by speaking out loud, while one woman simply looks at a shell, no matter how far it is. The workers, while witless, maintain some sort of carefulness in their actions. They stop when someone gets in their way, and use tools if they know how, avoiding pointless harm to their shells. There may be more than 50 creatures spread across and around the village, but you can't know how many you haven't seen yet. Many of the fresher undead are elders. Among the skeletons, you spot some that used to belong to children, but none to infants. While I think an infant probably would not be, if you think about how short their limbs are and everything. I do think it's really interesting how the game makes us sometimes choose an internal musing. I wonder what the effect of picking different things here is. Maybe such young shells are too difficult to sight even for the locals. I want to be thinking of the locals with empathy, right? Especially after we saw how they reacted to the news about Old Pagos. You notice that all the flies land either on the locals or on your palfrey. They avoid the awoken shells without exception. That's interesting, considering the birds aren't afraid to land on them. I address the guards. People from the other tribes are looking for spouses. The taller gatekeeper gives you a long look. We need no matchmaker here. Our youths work to do. Only then they're free to go wherever they want. After you ask if the village is open to invite new dwellers, he snorts. You think they're going to move to the village of the dead? Good joke. I think I know what the answer to this is already, but I asked the guards if there's a room I could rent. Oh, they will let us shelter here. Okay, I'm surprised by that. I guess one of them sighs and tells you to wait where you're standing. After a few minutes, a group of locals approaches a more neglected turf house and starts to empty it. They take out old crates, rags, casks, bricks, and leave them by the outer wall, at least for now. It's an old shed, explains the guard. There you won't bother anyone. We'll be ready before you need it. Okay. I approach the well. The locals observe your hands carefully while you're drawing the water. After you quench your thirst, you try to wash your face and neck, but one of the older women approaches you quickly, wagging her finger. We've not enough for this silliness, she rebukes you. Water your horse if you have to, but we need the rest for ourselves. The stern gaze of the other villagers leaves no room for discussion. Okay, and I think I've done all I can do with Helvius, at least for the moment. So, let's go. I'd like to go back... Wow. 2 hours and 15 minutes to ride back to the peat fields? Jeez. How much time do I have left before... we're fine. It's not ideal, though. As you ride past the fields, one of the local farmers enters the road, gesturing for you to stop. He's holding a rusty sickle and carries a basket on his back, filled with various weeds and a sharp club. His patched, worn tunic is neglected, but fitting for a farmer. The lean years left his face skinny and his teeth crooked, but his sad eyes hold heartwarming kindness. Hi there, Warden. He has a thick local accent. I've been wondering just now. It's a small matter, you see. Do you know how to read? I used to be a scholar. Oh, fantastic. He gives you a radiant smile. Give me a few moments? Without waiting for your response, he runs to the village and returns to you with a small sack in his hands. How about you take a look at it? He unwraps the package and reveals a large wax tablet made of bone. It is a letter from someone I care about, but I'm not sure what it says. I'll give you a coin once you read it for me. You take the tablet from his open palm. It's fancy, unlike the wooden ones. On its back, you find an engraving portraying a large, furry beast. Made of a troll's hip, the farmer says proudly. You examine the confident, deep signs written in the wax. The letter is short. Valens, it starts. I couldn't bear another day in this nightmarish village. But now I don't have to. I've met another soul during my hunting trip south. We will start a new family. Goodbye. No signature. The man is walking in place, waiting for you to speak. Why do you need my help is a weird question to ask, because he can't read, obviously. I'm not going to lie to him. I don't think that it was helpful to lie to him. And also, he asked me to do a thing. I just don't... I don't see what value there is in lying to him and cushioning a blow temporarily that he's going to have to deal with anyway when whoever this is never returns, right? All right, I know what's in the letter. Actually, hold on. It is a pretty tablet. He puts his hands on his sides. His smile is filled with pride. Did it myself, with cold nights and little iron. Takes thinking to keep your hands busy. All right, I know what's in the letter. He puts a hand on his forehead. You can't tell if it's a sign of relief or tension. I'm sure it's sort of both. I repeat to him his husband's words. At first he freezes, then gives a hateful look toward Orentius's hut. He knew what this piece of shit did, he growls. He always asks to be heard, only to spread lies. Why do I need to find a stranger to hear the truth for once in my life? His eyes get gentler once he looks at you, but you notice the tears in them. His shaking hands offer you the reward. Now, about the tablet. Oh, yeah, here you go. No, I don't want it. He steps away. You know what? Take this. He pulls out a bone stylus that perfectly matches the colors of the tablet. Together, they'll buy you a few meals at a trader's stall. Good luck, Warden. Oh. Farewell. That's very sad. You hear a weak moan coming from one of the houses. You notice a skinny woman with a blue headscarf. She stares at your mount like a wolf at an elk. Hi, do you have a problem with this horse? She moves away but meets your eyes and makes a smile-like grimace, then leads you behind the empty animal pen, away from the guard's ears. Her gray hair, mostly covered, is deceiving. She's no older than 30, yet her face is marked by insect bites and pustule scars. She takes confident steps, even though she wears muddy foot wraps without boots and a worn, simple skirt. She squeezes the front of her scarf on her chest, shaping it into something like a short hooded cloak. A warden, I heard? She answers your nod by pursing her lips. I need you to ride somewhere for me. Okay, tell me. Far away from here, at the eastern road, there's an old bridge made of a single rock. She doesn't look away for even a single heartbeat. Her gaunt face is pale and makes her large gray eyes look as if someone took their color away. Beneath it, there's a rock, and beneath the rock, a purse with my savings. Bring it to me. Before you mention your reward, she starts to speak faster, giving the men at the gate a nervous glance. Half of what you'll find is yours. Bring me the rest. If I ask this, I'm nervous that she won't believe me when I tell her what I found. I'm going to trade a dragon bone for getting to ask a few questions about the village. Yeah, I'd rather ask you a few questions about the village instead. Well, I'm not risking as much as a broken nail before you show me the bones. Her clenched fist moves left and right as if to replace the shake of her head. Seeing the curious looks of the guards, she shakes her head and leaves you to yourself as she passes by a flesh-bearing undead. Well, I do want to tell her about her pouch, though. She's just at the edge of the yard, keenly observing you, and as you approach her, she once again leads you further away from the gate, this time behind a turf house. She reaches out to you with an open palm and speaks quietly. May the right bless you, stranger. The pouch was torn and rotten. Here, the only dragon bone I found. She looks at the sky, then to the ground. For 2 heartbeats, she can't stop herself from revealing the despair in her eyes. But she then adjusts her headscarf, takes a deep breath, and moves her shoulders. I have not even a fistful of blueberries to thank you, stranger. But I'll tell the rest of the village you're a trustworthy messenger if anyone asks. Hardly anyone does around here. She hobbles away, splashing mud with every step. And I return to my bundles. The shuffling gait of an undead, still covered with flesh, makes all the other sounds weirdly quiet. Talking to Helvius, I could tell him about the woman. I wish I'd gotten a better feel for what her deal was. I don't want to get her in trouble. And she definitely seems like... She seemed to think that whatever she was up to was not cool to be up to in the open. I'm gonna leave. I'm just gonna go. One of the undead workers drops a basket of foraged cranberries and leaves. Maybe because its shell is too weak, or maybe because it received a poorly phrased order. It then stays still, waiting for further instructions. Okay, that took like half an hour. We can still get stuff done. Let's head back to the peat fields. Your palfrey takes slow steps forward, fighting with the dense mud left by the recent rain. The gentle breeze is soothing, but spoiled by the sour scent of rotting soil. You avoid deeper breaths. Thyrsus is sitting on the bench, observing your arrival as he's grinding something in a mortar. You greet him, but he asks you to wait a minute, and only after he's satisfied with his work does he leave his tools behind and move to the edge of the scarp. The creepers on his arms are slightly raised. Do you know anything about Asterian's whereabouts? He raises his chin. Know what? I may. His amulets rattle after his triumphant announcement, but he then looks at the clouds in the distance. You wait for him to carry on, to no avail. Okay, so what do you want? He flinches. Huh? No, not a thing. He shifts from foot to foot. Was just thinking, Saul. Okay. Is he your client, or do you share a goal? He crosses his arms, making the creepers hit his amulets. Never had a witch or warlock at home. It is wrong for me to speak. It's wrong of me to speak of others. Wrong of me to speak for others. I'll take on my pyre a lot of shame and doubt, and I need to be trusted. Well, people claim that he and your tribe were planning something big. Do you deny that? He rolls his eyes, shrugging his arms and showing his empty palms. Yet the nervous twitches of the creepers add little to his innocent demeanor. He and I traded a few times, but I didn't bed with him or offer him mint and stew. He said he may have had a job for me in the woods, and I told him I don't need his bones anymore. When asked what he did need, Thyrsis purses his lips. I want things to change, Saul. I wake up to awoken shells in the fogs and glossy as robbers threatening my family. All I want's for this cursed land to be normal. His yawn comes out of nowhere, but you then notice his dropped shoulders and heavy eyelids. And yep, that warden told me he's going to take care of it. So where is he then? Not at my place, for sure. To prove his point, he raises one of his creepers and opens the door, though from where you're sitting you mostly see the cold fireplace and the darkness behind it. Okay, but you do have an idea where I can look for him. Yep, at a monster's lair, most likely. You meet his eyes, and then we get a choice of... This is such an interesting question. Asking him, are you all right at this moment? Like, I can't tell if this is insulting or not. Maybe this is a moment to lay on a little threat. The thing is, Thyrsis seems very secure in his position here. I don't think he's afraid of me, and I think threatening him is mostly just going to piss him off. I'm going to show a moment of vulnerability. Based on that same logic, he thinks he is above me, and he literally is. I'm gonna sort of submit myself to his power here and hope that he takes this in that way. Please, Thyrsis, I need your help. He waves it off, both with a hand and a creeper. Help with chasing long-gone ghosts? I too have things to do. Food to find, peat to move. Yet I ask you for not a thing. Before you mention that you doubt he's all that busy, actually, he carries on. Asterion asked me for help with various creatures. Was heading for a journey, he said. Needed bogey bombs to scare animals away. Even some weird ones. The harpies and sea monsters. But I've no such things. I kinda poisoned the sea. Okay, thanks. So, are you telling me you're wardening the bogs because you wanted to do so? You refused to accept the new order of things, these necromantic practices. He sits down on the bench. Do I care who made me leave the walls? Aurentius didn't want me there, but I didn't want to stay. To stop him now, you'd need a band, and I'll tear off your head sooner than I'd bring a threat to my tribe. You reach toward your blade, but the creepers remain idle. You're stepping into a treant's branch. Seeing your frown, he continues. Their grasp gets tighter the more you move. You see, forget it. He waves it off. Why do you care about any of that? Let my people choose their path. I don't really feel a need to be judgmental about the undead. The game seems to think that it's going to be a very natural thing for you. You're just going to be automatically disgusted. I'm not. The use of the undead seems sensible to me. This is something, though. Your tribe is becoming an outcast. Soon no merchants will want to trade with necromancers. You speak as if it's a matter of the future, but my tribe accepts the risk. I couldn't care less. All I want's my tribe's safety, but this means not a thing to Aurentius. He reaches for the broken hourglass in his ear. What's your plan once you get to him? Yeah, that's a good question. I want to learn what pushes him to do all this. I mean, he must have his reasons. He freezes, as if he barely understands what you mean. This might be a good first step. But then you need some persuading, and it won't be as easy as you think. He gives you a warm look, then stands up slowly and looks at the clouds. All I can do is find a way to let you into his house. You'll have but one chance, if you can convince me you're to be trusted. I pat my bundles. Well, do I have anything that could convince you? He licks his lips, but then looks away. I'd rather not look. All right. We'll return to this later. Let's say I were to help your people with the bandits, and I got rid of the undead. Would you return the favor? He spares you a yellow grin. That's all, you say? Yep, save the north, or the scrap of it I care about, and I'll follow you into a fog. Okay, that's a big ask. Listen, I gotta ask, is Pete really worth constant overseeing? He looks at the nearby bricks and frowns, as if he's seeing them for the first time. Sure, kind of, I think. You ask him to tell you about them, but he admits it's the others who harvest it. I'm meant to pile it all up into rickles. He points at a small dolmen-shaped structure. But I'm always so busy, he grins. You ask him what turf is good for, and he starts to tap his toes. You could build with it, you could burn it, add it to the soil. That's great for smoking meat. We used to dig it slowly and barter for stone and timber, but we changed our ways. Okay. I better get out of here. Won't make it back. Ah, shit. I won't make it back basically anywhere before nightfall. Yep, everything's grayed out. The only thing I could actually do is stay in White Marshes for the night. I do not love that. And me saying this is just going to get me back on the line of, yeah, I can't. Right. Got any ingredients I could use? Okay. Ooh, I can just buy the powdered basalt I need for the blinding powder. That's interesting. All right. I'm headed back to White Marshes then. We're going to have to stay the night here. I guess I don't feel too bad about that because, you know, they prepped that room for me. You have to rest on your own blanket. The never-ending sounds of the wall construction and walking skeletons won't help you catch good sleep, and I'm going to run the fuck out of food. But we have a thing that, in theory, we can sell back in, like, Howler's Dell. And some work to turn in. So we can get some money, we can have a night's sleep in a proper inn with a wash and everything. Yeah, I think I'm just going to sleep. Nothing for it. The shivers wake you up, and you open the door slightly, letting the dense fog in. There are hardly any lights outside, and you don't even see the village's wall. The locals gather their awoken workers on the roads, and while a few of them meet your eyes, the others refuse to acknowledge your gaze. Fogs tend to get more common in late summer, but the tribes of the Dragonwoods often see them as a bad sign. The wild spirits they carry are believed to impact both the visible and the invisible, and not in ways that help humankind. I sigh. If there are any undead in these woods, the fog will strengthen them. A persistent, shouting voice wakes you up. Weak moonbeams squeeze through the smoke holes, but to have a proper look around, you open the door. There are flickering torches at the main gate, accompanied by a solemn prayer and timid shouts. You put on your cloak and boots and leave the shed. A few of the locals, dressed in their regular worn and muddy clothes, surround a large group of the undead, touching their half-rotten limbs, revealed rib cages, and emotionless heads. A hooded woman sonorously, singingly, begs for Right's guidance and protection, but you don't pay much attention to her words. The man known as Aurentius is standing beside the gathering, with a revealed torso and a walking stick beneath his shoulder. Every now and then he cuts his sides or his back and fills a wooden bowl slightly. Then a follower steps closer, puts 2 fingers inside the liquid, and takes it to one of the awoken creations. The lights dance around them, casting shadows that you could swear hide cruel spirits. You don't know how long you'd been observing the ritual when the scar-covered man turns toward you. His innocent, sad eyes carry no judgment or reprimand, yet you suddenly notice how cold your calves and neck are. Autumn is surely getting closer. You wade through the mud. So not only do they awake the dead, they use blood magic. If the United Church learns about this, they won't let it go. Even though the village seems to be on its legs, most shells you spot are dead, just as occupied as they were during the night. I notice Valen standing next to a shed. I'll say hi to him. He's moving small packages, bringing order to some neglected shelves. His eyes are red from crying, but he greets you with a strong voice and a polite smile. This time he's wearing a decent blue tunic. Back with us, Samhain. It's been a long time since I saw some visiting our home as often as you do. Well, that's how my job works. I go where others don't. He gives you a long look, as if he's not sure if it's meant to be an insult. I was a little worried about that when I clicked it. Then turns back to the bags. I'm looking after our grain and dried meat before fall comes. Thanks to... He draws in the air and lowers his voice. Aurentius's help. We've more food than in many years, but now we need to figure out what goes to our bellies and what goes back to the soil. I may have some supplies I could spare. You want to take a look? I don't. Is the thing. Alright. Then I think it's probably just time to leave. Let's travel. Let's get out of here. So, what do I need to do? I probably need to go to Gale Rocks. I need to... I can't remember the dude's name. Timo, the guy Timo's interested in. I need to tell him what's up. I probably need to ask some questions. They'll have that fish ready for me, but I don't know how to transport it, so I don't think that's actually of value. But, like, go to Gale Rocks now and then end the day in Howler's Dell, I think probably is the thing that makes sense. Oh my god, it is so much easier to travel here when the mud's not all fucked up. We got a few days yet before the hunt at Foggy's. The smoke above the village is as dense as it gets. Actually... Hold on a second. You know what? This is a little shorter than we usually go, but I think I'm going to call the episode here for today. I apologize. I just have some demands on my time today. This is going to be that's going to be it for us for today. Thank you all so much for watching. When y'all come back next time, we're going to hopefully have a much better day that ends with us not dead broke and completely out of food, because frankly, I'm a little concerned that I have maneuvered us into a total dead end here. And we'll see you then.